Hey there folks, my name's Ben Rollison and this is Smart Precomposer, my new script. A script that's designed to do something very simple but annoyingly enough After Effects won't let you do, and that is to precompose text or shape layers and leave all of the attributes in the top composition. Now, if you've got no idea what I'm talking about, then I will demonstrate very quickly. And excuse me if I have to rattle through this a little bit fast, because these demos need to kind of show you everything you can do in under 10 minutes, so I'm in kind of a go faster gear. Bear with me. Okay, we've got an animation here. It's made of 2 layers, and each of the layers has the same animation on it, give or take a couple of opacity keyframes. Moving in 3D space, we've got a 3D layer with a time stretch and then in and out point. One of the layers is a red solid, the other is a piece of live text. Okay, if we take the red circle and we do a pre-comp, Command-Shift-C, we have the option to leave all the attributes in Comp 1, and that's very useful because now we have the same layer with all of the same keyframes and all of the same attributes, but it's now, instead of being a solid, it's now a pre-composition with the original source inside it that we can amend and do things to, add layers. You know what pre-comping is all about if you've been using After Effects for more than about 1.5 minutes. So let's pop a quick ramp effect on there and do something like that, and of course any changes we make will be reflected in the top composition. Very useful structurally, organizationally and creatively as well. Okay, let's do the same thing with our text, Command-Shift-C, and of course straight away we see that the leave all attributes in Comp 1 option is greyed out. Most annoying. The same will happen with a shape layer because these things have no source, and of course because they have no source you're also prevented from doing any kind of workaround. One workaround you might think of would be to make a new text comp to put a piece of static text in there, something like that. Don't know what word that is, but it looks pretty cool, I think. And then to say, okay, well, let's take that new one and we'll alt and drag over the original layer to replace the source. And what you'll get, of course, is an error because the layer doesn't have a source. The only real way around it is to create a new composition and laboriously copy and paste all the keyframes, and even that's not perfect. Okay, well, that was until Smart Precomposer came along. Let me just run it from the script UI panels like this. As you can see, it's a pretty minimal sort of interface, and we just hit Precompose. Hey presto, it's done the same as it did to the red solid layer. We've got a composition with all the keyframes in the top. If we double click, we've got a pre-comp with that piece of text inside it. Let's just Command Z that. Let's get rid of our text comp there. Okay, well, as easy as that. Now you can pre-compose and leave text and shape layers. But the whole thing kind of got me thinking about the whole idea of sort of pre-composing and moving attributes as opposed to pre-composing and leaving attributes, and how we sort of use that creatively and structurally to organize our projects. And I decided to add a few little features to Smart Precomposer, which you can get to by clicking this mysterious little 3 dots button here. Now you'll have to excuse me because when I do these screen caps I use a pretty small screen size, which means everything's a bit big on screen. We're a little bit lacking in the old screen real estate department, but bear with me. Now what we've got here are a bunch of checkboxes essentially, and anything that's checked, that particular attribute will stay in the top composition, and anything that's not checked will move into the underlying composition. What I'm going to do is just going to dupe up this text layer, and I'm going to add a color correction tint effect to it, just to tint it yellow, like that. And I'm also going to pop a mask onto it, like that. And let's have a look at our mask keyframes. Let's put a moving mask path, something like that, just for the fun of it. And believe you me, it is fun. Nothing like a moving mask. Hey, let's even put a an easy ease keyframe on there as well. Okay, this is not a piece of animation that's going to win any awards, but for the purposes of demonstration, I think it'll probably do. Okay, same thing again. With that top layer selected, I'm going to uncheck effects and masks, and what that's going to do when I hit Precompose, well, you can see that visually it's exactly the same as it was before. But when I double click on this pre-composition, you can see that the tint effect, tinting it yellow, and the travelling mask, they are both to be found in the pre-composition, not the top composition anymore. Pretty useful. Well, we shall see. You can also do weird things. Let's just change these options, and let's just move all of the transform options into the pre-composition and leave everything else. Now this is going to have a bit of a weird effect, because by doing that, you're actually changing the natural order that After Effects applies things. Generally speaking, After Effects would apply the masks first, and the effects first and then the masks, and then it would apply the transform. Well, by doing this, we're forcing the transform to happen first, and what that means is we're going to end up with an animation that doesn't look exactly like the one we started with. Let's pre-compose that. Now, as you can see, it appears to have disappeared, so what have we got going on here? Well, first and foremost, it's disappearing behind the other one because we've got two 3D layers that are in exactly the same space, so I'm going to hazard a guess. So what we could do is the classic technique of a 1 pixel 2D solid between the two layers, yep, and that just forces the layer order. So it's basically the same, but that mask is in a slightly different position to where it was before, and if we go into the pre-composition you can see why. But now we've got the entire movement pre-composed and then the mask applied over the top. So you can see some effects like that starting to happen sometimes too. Let's just go back to where we were. Just so you know. And in actual fact, that's possibly why Adobe doesn't allow you to do stuff like this, because you'd have people kind of scratching their heads going, huh? Why does it look like that? You know, that's not what I made. But anyone who's a bit more experienced will know it's all about the order in which you apply effects, masks, transformations, and so on. Now, one more little thing. There's a few options down here at the bottom, which I'll just show you. Dims. You probably noticed that when we pre-comped before, we've got a bit of a border around things. Now, if I change that to 0, 0, you'll see that we don't have a bit of a border. Well, we do have a bit of a border. That's because After Effects gives a little bit of leeway to the source size when it's got a stroke on it. But if I was to take the stroke off there and run that, you'd find... Hello. Try again. You'd find that it does in fact go right to the edges of the composition. That's dims. With 0, 0 it doesn't add a border. With a 100, 100 it adds a 100 pixel border. We can even do silly stuff like -200, 0, and as you can see it sort of cuts off the horizontal edge. Although it stays in the same place, it's fundamentally still right. The other thing, of course, is that you can type in a size. Let's put in a sort of standard definition square pixel size and click dims abs. That means that the numbers above no longer represent a border around the original size, but they represent the absolute size of the new composition. Let's just have a check. Indeed, we have 1024 by 576 pixel composition. Okay, Command Z again, because that has just reminded me of one last little thing that I have to show you. Let's just go back to dims of 0, 0 and make it not absolute. You may be wondering what happens when, for instance, a shape layer is animating, or indeed if you animate the source text on a layer. Let's just make Precomposer huge, like that. There you go. And what happens there? You know, it starts off in one way and then it animates into another way. Obviously, shape layers you can animate to your heart's content. Well, let's try it out. Go into the pre-composition and you can see what it does. It takes the biggest size that the text or the shape layer ever is as the basis size for the pre-composition. And again, if we put sort of 100 pixels all around the edge, you'll see it's putting that border in, but it's basing it on the biggest size that that text gets to be. There you go, that's Smart Precomposer. I hope that it will be a useful tool. I mean, I'm sure that I'm going to be using it, so I'd be very happy to hear your feedback. Any suggestions, any comments, get in touch. That's it. My name's Ben Rollison. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy Smart Precomposer. Cheers.